Hi, I'm Neil and I'm WoodScrape. You don't normally see me in my videos, but I really wanted to personally introduce this one to you, the Golden Ratio. It's my favourite piece so far. Hope you really enjoy the video. I really appreciate a like, subscribe, leave me a comment.
Have you ever noticed how many spirals there are out there in the world? Ooh, cake. Oh, right. That's better. Onwards. Now, this project is about one spiral in particular. It's seen throughout nature and it's known by many names. The frame was to be made out of oak. The world is getting very expensive at the moment, so I decided to use up what I've actually got. Once it's all machined, I then decided to lay it out on the workbench and discovered that my workbench isn't small. I think this piece is just a bit big. It also occurred to me that this is oak, so I thought I'd better sharpen my chisels. It was really important for these pieces to be precisely at the correct dimensions, otherwise the rectangle wouldn't look correct. These pieces were now ready for dovetailing. But before that, let's just go over the tools that I'm going to use. My marking knife with a nice fresh blade on it. Marking gauge. I like to use the Veritas dovetail marking gauge. It's a 1/6, and I use a few other pieces of theirs to help me mark out. Razor sharp chisels, 4 different sizes, a couple of fine tooth saws, and of course my trusty mallet. This has seen some use, this has. I don't understand why people make tools but never use them. I've gone over my dovetailing technique in quite some depth in some of my previous videos, so for this video I thought it'd be nice just to have a quick overview. That's the actual dovetails cut. I'm not cutting the miters yet. I need to transfer the dovetails onto the pins first. I like to use this dovetail lining up board that I made. It just makes life a lot easier. Why struggle? The Swan Morton 01 blades on your marking knife make marking out these pins really easy. Just rough cutting the miters here. I'll clean them up later on. I just want to see if the dovetails fit properly. And put it all together, see if they fit. They all fit nicely, so I'll leave the miters as they are now. I'll clean them up before I glue up. The Parquetry veneer work was a project all by itself. It took a couple of weeks, and I know most of you aren't going to want to watch that process, so I've actually done a completely separate video on that. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Up until this point, I was pretty sure I was going to make the spiral from layers of veneer laminated together. But when I got to this point and I was sitting here looking at this, it just looked like it was going to be an absolute nightmare, and I think it would have ended up looking a right mess as well. So I made the executive decision to ditch tradition and use technology. Smaller pieces were fine to cut out on the CNC from one piece because of the depth of them, but these larger pieces, they needed a much deeper piece of walnut, which would have cost an absolute fortune. So I took advantage of the CNC machine being so accurate and cut it into 3 pieces and glued them together. A few dowels through there to locate and keep it all lined up. It was all good. I decided to finish the frame with this Odies Dark Oil. I've not used it before. I was offered to use it, and I have to say, it's really quick, it's really easy, and it smells great. No affiliate, it's just good. In the separate video I've done for veneering, I put a protective coat of shellac sanding sealant on the veneer work until I was ready to put a finish on. I used Quad Zero wire wool to take the tips off of the shellac sanding sealant and a coat of microcrystaline wax. This seems to be becoming my finish of choice. Once the wax had hardened, it was over to the buffing wheel. This thing's awesome. It was then time for my least favourite part, the glue up. I decided to glue up the internal sections first and put it into the frame, but not glue the frame, and then clamp it all up just so everything stays and everything's in the right place. Now I managed to not press record for the glue up of the main frame. You didn't miss much. It was stressful and I hated it, but I got it done. I hadn't actually thought very much about how I was going to fix this to the wall, and then my friend Josh suggested that I put LED lights at the back to light up the wall behind it, and so then I had to really start thinking about how I was going to do it. So I designed this frame, and you see there's a French cleat, and I went from there. This involved having to get the soldering iron out. That's fine. It's back to my radio controlled days. Quite enjoy it actually. So like I said before, I always thought this would just have a bracket and mount it to the wall, but what I've managed to do is a project all by itself and completely over-engineer it, which is, everyone who knows me, that's typical me. Let's put a chamfer on the bottom, the top even, the top, because those grooves are going at the bottom. I didn't want the walnut to get much darker, so I didn't use the dark oil, I used the super duper oil. Just as good. Throughout this entire project, there's one thing that's been playing on my mind the whole time, and that is where on earth am I going to put this? It's massive. It's not enormous, but it's far too big for anywhere in my home. Some very close friends have just bought a rather large house, massive walls, and I thought it'd look good in their home, so I gave it to them. They love it, thankfully.